Hello everybody, welcome to Wonky Angle, where I talk about electronic music, both new and old. Yeah, so, the other day, I reviewed an album called Opus. Spoilers, I thought it was pretty good, and I gave it my recommendation. But I got a ton of backlash for it. And this wasn't like when I said I didn't like Daft Punk's Homework, or thought Disclosure were way overhyped. I expected to get backlash on those statements. But this time it caught me completely off guard. Especially considering it didn't look like these people actually disagreed with my opinion. No, it wasn't that I made a big controversial statement, it was that the review itself was crap, and that I was being called out for being a bad reviewer. I did in fact make a couple of little mistakes in my research, among other things. And, the comments did start out pretty reasonable, then they turned into kinda being butthurt, but also giving a reason for being butthurt and correcting me. Then, just saying that I'm wrong without saying why I'm wrong, then just pure blind hatred for no reason. Some of these comments have gotten beyond the point where I can take them seriously. This isn't for the people who disagree with my opinion or are just intentionally trying to give me a headache, because making an entire video to respond to those people would be a waste of time and would just further ruin my credibility. Now these are some mistakes I made and want to correct, and also a rant that I had pent up within me over the past couple of years that I think would be a good time to let out, but I'll get to that in a bit. So, there were 3 big complaints that everybody seemed to have. 1. I mispronounced the guy's name. Over the course of the review, I called him Eric Prydz, which was a pronunciation I got from the first interview I found of his on YouTube.
Now, Eric Prydz, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I will admit I didn't, watch the video all the way through, but the guy didn't correct the interviewer, so... Well, point is, apparently this is not actually the correct pronunciation. It's not like people actually bothered to give me the correct pronunciation, though. Apparently I'm just wrong, end of story. I see this comment, for instance, and I read, "It's Prydz, not Prydz." Gee, thanks for the help. I'm not Swedish, Is it Prydz? Is it Prydz? Is it Prydz? Eric Prydz? Eric Gaudiker? And how come no one batted an eye at my saying Pajanu? I mean, that was obviously a joke, and I was 90% sure I wasn't pronouncing it correctly anyway. But it's not like I would have gotten it right if I'd actually tried to pronounce it correctly, Moving on. Number 2. Eric Prius never officially participated in Swedish House Mafia. Okay, so the site I always use for reference on these things, Discogs, claims that Eric Prada was briefly involved with them, though to what extent it doesn't mention. I suppose that's my fault for not looking further into it. I literally just discovered the guy about a day or 2 before recording the review. I was about to leave for vacation with my family and wanted to get the video out before I left. So yeah, the review was rushed, my bad. But I did actually get corrections on this. The guy was unofficially a member, but back before those guys actually decided to use the name Swedish House Mafia as branding, but when they decided that that was approximately the time that he left, I kind of figured his involvement wasn't actually that big, and I just wanted an excuse to talk about them and get them out of the way. That way I could fill time on a review of an album that I didn't actually have much to say about, and without having to cover that new Steve Angello album. By the way, if you really, really want my thoughts on that album, here's my review in 1 sentence. If you like Swedish House Mafia, you'll like Steve Angello's Wild Youth. But the inverse is also true. And finally, complaint number 3. Eric Pringles doesn't make trance. Okay, look. This one depends on your definition of trance. If you mean trance in the same vein as Armin van Buuren or Tiesto, then no, he's not trance. As I said in the actual review, he's more like early Deadmau5. I think that's called progressive house, electro house, or something like that. But to me, trance is a big umbrella term that encompasses both progressive house and electro house. Basically, I see it as 4 on the floor pounders that usually have 2 build-ups to 2 climaxes, and have a significant enough focus on melody. This can include Armin and Tiesto, of course, but it can also include Paul van Dyk, BT, Juno Reactor, Robert Miles, or Mills? Okay, I've had enough pronunciation discussions, let's just not go there. But a big variety of different sounds under that trance umbrella there. Eric Pretzels doesn't sound exactly like Armin, true, but they come from similar backgrounds, so I feel like I can put them both under said umbrella. Okay, rant time. Now, I'm obviously not saying people should never use genres or anything, or just use them willy-nilly without any regard for what they actually mean. I mean, nobody's gonna be saying, for instance, that Orbital is heavy metal, or something like that.
Satan! 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 Satan!
Oh, right, I forgot about that. Okay, maybe that's not exactly the best example I could have thought of. But still, genres are useful for categorizing music and describing what they sound like. And you know, it's not like my brain is so tiny I can't even recognize them. I can easily tell the difference between, say, trance, drum and bass, and ambient music, because, you know, those genres sound very different from each other. When you get into genres like progressive house and electro house, the line's a little more blurry and not as well defined because they sound kinda similar. I can kinda tell them apart, but it's not easy. But here's the thing. Genre terminology isn't even an objective way of looking at music. It doesn't even do a good job of describing the music it's labeling sometimes. If you look at genres like modern dubstep, sure as heck doesn't sound like it's been influenced by dub music, but I'd still rather say that than bro step, which always sounded a little silly and condescending to me. Look, for example, this is dub.
Ball of fire. Ball of fire.
This is dubstep. And apparently this is also dubstep. See what I mean? I feel like these specific EDM genres are a confusing mess, and while it's not like I don't think nobody should ever use the terms to begin with, being a huge stickler for exact terminology is just a waste of everyone's time and energy. I mean, correcting people is fine if you give your explanation. For instance, I do get peeved when people refer to the electronic music movement as a whole as dubstep, but shoving terminology in people's faces doesn't make you look smarter, it just makes you look like a dick. Maybe I brought this all on myself by calling myself YouTube's resident EDM expert, but you know, I was kind of half joking. On one hand, I've yet to see another album reviewer on YouTube who focus almost exclusively on electronic music, which is the only reason I felt I could say that at all. I mean, if there is somebody else, please tell me about them, I'd love to support them. But point is, I can't in all honesty call myself an expert. As I said in the original video, I do know a lot about electronic music, but there's way more I don't know. It's too broad a genre that a true expert can't actually exist. There's too much to keep track of. I'm constantly learning more and I'll never stop learning, but this in the end is my problem. Not the genres themselves and their confusing layout and overlaps, but rather the people who go nuts any time they hear someone get a genre wrong. Genres are a subjective thing. Everyone's perception of different genres is different, especially when they get as specific as the ones I've been using for that review. I thought that Eric Pajanu sounded kinda like trance, so that's what I said. But to me, trance is a really broad term, and maybe to someone else the difference between progressive house and electro house is like night and day. But these people aren't correcting me or explaining why the two genres are so different, they're just saying I'm wrong and I'm an uninformed idiot who doesn't know better. Look, to finish this rant/discussion off, I'd like to address the Eric Prydz fans who keep calling me out and telling me the guy would be offended if he heard me calling his music trance. Look, I even pronounced his name correctly this time, just to show I'm serious. If you ask me, Eric Prydz seems like a really cool guy, and he does definitely care a lot about the music that he's making. But the genre-specific labels attached to his music is not among the things he seems to hugely care about. Like, you know that interview where that lady pronounced his name Eric Prydz? Well, now I've seen that interview all the way through, I noticed he said this.
Okay, so speaking of genres, like what's your personal favorite? Because you work with so many different genres. What is your personal preference that you love?
I don't really like to put music in brackets, so like genres and stuff like that. It's not, I make dance music, and yeah.
Looking into it, it seems to make less and less sense that Eric Prydz fans of all people are giving me heat for genre-specific terms. Prydz just wants to make dance music, and that's what he did on Opus. I said it was simplistic, and that was his intent. I found myself to truly respect him and enjoy his work. But that's about all I have to say. I have no intent to attack anyone, I still stand by the opinions I gave in the review proper, and as a result that video stays exactly where it is. But I won't deny that I made a few mistakes thanks to rushing the review script before-ification, and I felt like I needed to address these things. So, next review, probably gonna be Dead Mouse while 1 is less than 2. So I probably won't be embarrassing myself with some blind spot in my knowledge then, so you can look forward to that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all for today. See you next time.